I am starting off with a quote that was part of our meditation quote today. Perfect belief is the beginning and the end of all good mental work. And that comes from Ernest Holmes, who is the founder of religious science and the author of Science of Mind, this big fat book, which is the foundational philosophy that I studied in for practitioner studies, ministerial studies, and everything that I've done in my consciousness studies so far. And so the reason that I pulled out this quote is because it is out of the fourth section, out of the introduction to this book. And in those first 60 pages are really everything that you would need to learn or sort of discern from the rest of that book that has 600 more pages in it. And so part 4 is about how to use it. And so what I'm doing, just as a reminder, is every single January, a lot of centers for spiritual living, which are New Thought centers around the world, go back to basics and go to this introduction to learn about the thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and how to use it. And so again, we talk about how there's this one thing. Call it what you will, but there's this one thing. And because there's only this one thing, everyone and everything is that. This thing is creative. This thing is forever expanding and evolving. And this thing, in order to have an experience of itself, needs an outlet. And so what it does is it impresses itself upon something and then shows up as our life experience. Now, in order for it to show up as our life experience, there has to be some kind of creative process. And this creative process involves a principle or a law. And basically, in very simple terms, we talk about it as the law of cause and effect, or something like what we focus on expands. And when we say that, what we focus on expands, it's whether we're aware of what we're focusing or not. And this is where that sea of subjectivity that Jamie was talking about, where all ideas, all thoughts, all memories of all time exist. This is what the conscious mind, at least the way we teach it, the conscious mind impresses itself through. And so if there are beliefs in there that we are holding on to, that we are entertaining, if there are stories that we keep telling over and over and over again, then even the most amazing thoughts and ideas and visions will impress themselves through, filter through all of those stories and those beliefs that aren't necessarily life-affirming, and then bam, our life experience. And sometimes we can get confused because our life experience doesn't necessarily feel aligned with what it is we think our life experience should be. So this sea of subjectivity, it's really, really important to get crystal clear on what's going on in there, because this law, this creative process, works the same way all the time, whether we're conscious of it or not. And so how to use it is actually my favorite thing, because my number one favorite thing that I learned as a tool when I was going through foundational studies, practitioner studies, ministerial studies, advanced consciousness, doing ministerial work, is called spiritual mind treatment. It's also known as affirmative prayer. And so this is a form of prayer, not where we are praying to something or someone outside of us. We're not asking for stuff. We're not begging for stuff. We're not wishing and hoping that something is going to happen. What we are doing is we are praying as. We are affirming that I am the only thing that is going on. This thing is moving and grooving its way in through and as me all the time. And the more conscious, the more aware I become of that truth, the more I can use that power constructively, affirmatively, intentionally, purposefully to create the kind of life experience that I not only want to have, but I am fully capable of having. So that's what we're talking about today, and that's the section that this quote comes from. Perfect belief is the beginning and the end of all good mental work. So who here has heard, change your thinking, change your life? Yeah? Okay, so it sounds pretty straightforward, but what does that mean? How can you just think something and then it becomes your life experience? I see a shaking head in the back row there. Well, and that has a lot to do. Keep trying is the thing. Keep trying is the key. That has everything to do with what's going on in the subjective mind. Everything. Because if what we think isn't what shows up in our life experience, then something in here has to change. And so it's not just about the thoughts, and it's not just about the beliefs, because if we go back to David Hawkins at the beginning of 2024, where we're hanging out with his book, Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender, he talked about how it's not the thoughts that are the thing that we need to focus on. We need to focus on the feeling. Because there are feelings that we can get stuck in, and those feelings are the springboards for thousands upon thousands of thoughts. So if we don't get tuned into the vibration that we're sort of stuck in, then we're going to have all of these thoughts that we don't necessarily even know about, that we're not even cognizant or aware of, and they're then going to inform our life experience. So we want to change our thinking, but we also want to be able to be in tune with the emotions, with the feelings that we're experiencing that go hand in hand with those thoughts that we're thinking. Because a lot of time, if we hone in on the energy, on the feeling, on the emotion, and we just get curious about that, we notice what it is that we're feeling, and then we just allow it to sort of have its day, then a lot of times we can just let that go. And as we let that go, any thoughts associated with those feelings also just go back into no-thingness. So Ernest Holmes also writes, while it is true that wrong conditions exist, they could not remain unless there were someone to experience them. Consequently, the experience must be in consciousness. Change the consciousness and the false condition will disappear. So this again is all about getting really clear on what we are thinking, clear on what we are believing, clear on what we are feeling, because all of that is reflected as our life experience. And so if we are experiencing something that we would prefer otherwise, then our work is to kind of back it up and go, okay, what are the beliefs associated with that? What am I feeling that is associated with that? And then address it. And sometimes it's not as easy as just thinking something different. Sometimes we actually have to go deeper and do something like breath work. Do something that is going to open us up to another level, another state, a state of non-ordinary consciousness, so that we can actually tune in to those beliefs that are there, that have been just stuck in there for so long that most of them aren't even ours. Because in this sea of subjectivity, if all the beliefs and all the memories and all the ideas and all the thoughts of all time are in there, then doesn't it stand to reason that most of the beliefs that we hold dear, most of the stories that we're telling, most of the thoughts we're thinking, they're not even ours. We didn't put them in there. They're just there for us to either focus on or not. And as we're focusing on them, we can decide, do we want to continue focusing on this? Or is it something that maybe we want to let go of, knowing that it's still there, but focus our attention on something else that's more life-affirming? So this tool that I was telling you about, affirmative prayer or spiritual mind treatment, this is the thing that, for me, is the needle mover. For myself, when I work with clients, when I work with groups, in the ministerial work that I do, we have a prayer team that prays for people. And it is just such an amazing experience to completely shift into that mindset, up level in consciousness, to expand and open the heart in the way that is expanded through spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. Because when we do it, then like I said, we are affirming who and what we are and what we already know, no matter what is going on all around us. And so it doesn't matter what people are saying. It doesn't matter what people are thinking. It doesn't matter what is all over the news. It doesn't matter what stories are going through our head. When we tune in and purposely and consciously go through these steps of affirmative prayer, when we practice again and again and again until it becomes habitual, we don't even have to think about the fact that step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, then we get into this zone, we get into this other level of consciousness, and we start creating as that infinite expansive universe that we truly are, as that incredible, amazing, divine, energetic flow that is the essence of everyone and everything, rather than the negativity, rather than challenges, rather than the obstacles that we might face from moment to moment, day to day. So the 5 steps are, and the word that I'm going to focus on today is love. So the first step is realization, and that essentially is love is all there is. That's it. The second one is identification. I am love. Love is all there is. I am love. These 2 steps are essential to effective affirmative prayer, because if you can't anchor yourself in that truth, in that knowing, then everything else that follows is going to come from stuff that is whirling and swirling around us. We call it the relative. It can be circumstances. It can be known as the conventional world. And so we want to get really, really, really clear on who it is that is affirming this prayer. So love is all there is. I am love. And then next is the declaration. Here's what I know. Not here's what I'm wishing for, what I'm hoping for, what I would like. Here's what I know. Even though what I'm seeing and experiencing around me and right in front of me may feel completely different, I see past that and know with every fiber of my being that, whatever the intention is, all is well. I am fully supported in every way, shape, and form. I have every single resource I could ever possibly require to live my most amazing life, to rise up to whatever challenge is greeting me face on. This is what I know with every fiber of my being. And then the 4th thing, which normally is known as gratitude, on Sunday I talked about how I think I'm going to start using appreciation. Because appreciation is a feeling. Appreciation is a state of being that grows, that appreciates. Gratitude is being thankful for something. And so there's a bit of transaction going on in there. But appreciation is just enjoying, is being grateful just for the sake of being grateful. And so when we appreciate, not only are we thankful for whatever the prayer is for, but we are appreciating the power of the prayer by remembering who and what we truly are, how incredibly powerful and capable we are, how resilient and creative we are. And then at the end of it is release. And that's when, you've probably heard me say before, and so it is. And that means it's done. You know, like I know this is what's happening. I trust and know it's already a successful, done deal in the quantum field of infinite potentiality. I let it go, and so it is. And I just let whatever it is that is going to show up because of this prayer show up. I'm not going to try and tell it has to be this big, it has to show up in this amount of time, it has to look a certain way. I'm going to trust and know that because this incredible innate wisdom, this intuitive knowing is forever present within me. It is moving and grooving its way through me all the time. It is working for me. It is expressing as me. I'm going to trust and know that it knows what is for my greatest and highest good. And so I'm just going to surrender and open up to whatever and however the thing that I know is already happening shows up. So Ernest Holmes writes, spiritual things must be spiritually discerned, and when we are ready and willing to spiritually discern, we shall find a ready response from the invisible into the visible. And so this is him saying, we got to be really clear on who we are. We are having a human experience. We are flesh and bone for sure. This is what's going on. But the thing that is having this experience is spirit, is essential love, is universe, source, creativity, God, whatever it is that you want to call it. And so if we want to open ourselves up to living our true potential, we have to do it as spirit. We have to open ourselves up to the unknown, to the yet unexperienced, to the infinite potentiality of the quantum field. And the only way we can do that is by remembering who we are, that we are spirit. Spiritual things must be spiritually discerned. So this is the key for affirmative prayer, going back to steps 1 and 2. And today I'm using the word love, but you could substitute it with God. You could substitute it with universe, source, spirit, whatever it is that works for you. But remembering that step 1, love, spirit, source, creativity, God, the quantum field, etc., is all there is. There is nothing else. And step 2, I am that. And so as I anchor myself in that, then here's what I know. 100%. I don't necessarily have to know how, but here is what I know, for sure. And then as I appreciate that this is already present in my life, even though maybe with my eyes I can't see it, then I trust and know and affirm that it's already happened, and so it is. And so the title of my talk today is, and so it is. And so I was trying to find a picture of someone who was like super sure, super confident, that looked like they really knew who they were, and this is the image that I settled on. Because I thought, little kids, most of the time, they are sure. Little kids know. They know who they are. They know their power. It doesn't matter what other people are telling them. They just know, and they trust, and they just go about life being that confident. And so here is this kid punching through paper, a wall, whatever it is, and just declaring, this is me. And to me, what I'm seeing is, this is who and what I am. This is what I know. And so it is. There's no questioning there. There's no waffling. There's no I wish, I hope, maybe, at some point, kind of, sort of, who knows. No, this kid, definitive, steadfast, unwavering, and having a really good time while declaring and knowing and affirming who and what they are. So I also wanted to talk about 2 more nuggets that I received from Glenn over the last couple of weeks. And one of them I shared last week, which was a quote from Don Miguel Ruiz. And this is because Glenn is doing this amazing book study on Saturdays on the 4 agreements. And one of the things, which isn't out of the book, but was in an interview that he showed us this past Saturday, is a quote which has just landed for me like no other these past couple of weeks, which is, I am the love of my life. When he first said it, it just right here, just landed in my heart, cracked me wide open, and I'm just like, wow, that feels so good. And it feels so good for me because it is resonant with who I truly know myself to be. Just that phrase is like step 1 and 2 for me in affirmative prayer. And so this phrase was actually an anchor for me in a sacred ceremony that I took part in on Friday night last week. And it was something I hadn't done before in that way. Talk about pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, Jamie. And so this was an affirmation, if you will, that I had to just remind myself that no matter what I was going through, no matter how many unknowns there were, I am the love of my life. And everything that happened in that ceremony was based in love, was anchored in the knowing that I am bigger and more powerful than anything that could possibly happen to me. And all of that knowing, all of that wisdom, all of that love is always, always supporting me because it's always, always unleashing itself in, through, and as every fiber of my being. I am the love of my life. I am the love of my life. I am the love of my life. The second nugget that Glenn gave was this week on Saturday in a Ram Dass quote, similar, but it was, I am loving awareness. And so as we heard Ram Dass repeat this, I don't know how many times over in a recording, I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness, it kind of did the same thing for me. Because there was the statement, I am, at the very beginning, and anything you put after I am, that's what your life experience is going to be. And as I sank into this statement, as it sank into me more and more and more, into the room, everybody who was here as we were listening to this together, everybody just dropped in so fast. And it connected us all together, too, reminding us of who and what we truly are. And so I want to go back to that quote at the beginning, perfect belief is the beginning and the end of all good mental work. There's a saying, prayer is its own answer. And this is kind of what that statement is about as well. So even if you go to look to spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer, the way that we pray in Science of Mind, the beginning is all about remembering who and what we are. Love, God, spirit, source, whatever. That's all there is. I am that. And the end is, and so it is. And the it part is the same as what we're remembering at the very beginning. So perfect belief is the beginning and the end of all good mental work. We should be able to look at a wrong condition with the knowledge, like the knowing, the concrete knowing, trusting, and affirming that we can change it. How? By using our minds consciously, by being more aware, by getting clear on what's going on in that sea of subjectivity, by opening our hearts, by noticing what feelings we're getting caught up in and the thoughts that might be springing from those feelings. All of it, though, all of it means that we need to get clear and we need to remember who we are. And as we remember who we are, as we remember that we are infinitely more powerful, creative, and resilient than anything we could ever think, believe, or feel, than anything we could ever experience, then we create life as that. We affirm life as that. We experience life as that infinite potentiality that we truly are. So perfect belief is the beginning and the end of all good mental work. We should be able to look at a wrong condition with the knowledge that we can change it. Spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer, whatever you want to call it. The beginning, the end, both the same, and so it is. Thank you. And so it is.